2 years after the Great Deception, Captain Lisa Chen received an urgent message while patrolling the outer rim of human space. Her ship, the Guardian, was one of 50 vessels that protected the new trade routes between Earth and its alien allies. The message came from a species that humans had never encountered before. Captain Chen, the alien voice, spoke through the translation system. "This is Commander Zalak of the Thonian Republic. We have heard stories about your people. Stories that seem impossible to believe." Lisa looked at her communications officer, Lieutenant Mark Taylor. The Thonians lived far beyond the old Zephyrian territories, in a region of space that few species had ever explored. How had they learned about humanity? "Commander Zalak," Lisa replied carefully, "what kind of stories have you heard?" "Stories that say your species defeated the mighty Zephyrian Empire with only one ship. Stories that claim, you can turn off any technology with invisible weapons. My government wants to know if these stories are true." Lisa smiled. Even 2 years later, the tale of humanity's victory continued to spread across the galaxy. Each time the story was told, it grew larger and more amazing. Some versions claimed that humans could control alien minds. Others said that Earth's single ship had destroyed 1 million enemy vessels. "The stories are partly true," Lisa answered, "but the real story is more complicated than the legends suggest." Meanwhile, on Earth, Professor David Parker taught a class about the battle to students from 7 different worlds. His classroom at the New Geneva University was filled with young humans and aliens who wanted to understand how the galaxy had changed so quickly. "The key to understanding the battle," David explained, "is that it was not really about technology. It was about psychology. The Zephyrians defeated themselves by believing their own propaganda." A student from the Calarian Republic raised her hand. "Professor, why did the Zephyrians make such basic mistakes? They were supposed to be experienced conquerors." David walked to the front of the classroom. "Experience can be a weakness as well as a strength. The Zephyrians had conquered so many worlds that they stopped thinking about new possibilities. They assumed all enemies would fight the same way. In the Zephyrian territories, former soldiers were learning to live in a galaxy where might did not make right. Captain Rex Korvac had once commanded a battlecruiser in the Imperial fleet. Now he worked as a security officer on a peaceful trading station. "The humans taught us something important," Rex told his mixed crew of former enemies. "They showed us that true strength comes from protecting others, not conquering them." Rex's station orbited a planet where 3 different species lived together, peacefully. Before the war, such cooperation would have been impossible. The Zephyrian Empire had kept alien races separated and suspicious of each other. Now they were learning to work as partners. Dr. Helen Grant continued her research, but she had moved beyond weapons technology. Her new laboratory focused on medical applications of quantum science. The same principles that had disabled alien warships were now being used to cure diseases that had plagued the galaxy for thousands of years. "The quantum resonance effect can target specific molecular structures," Helen explained to her research team. "We can use it to destroy cancer cells while leaving healthy tissue untouched." Her assistant, Dr. Corvin Nex, was a former Zephyrian scientist who had chosen to work with humans rather than return to his home world. "Dr. Grant, the medical applications are just the beginning. We could use this technology to repair damaged ecosystems, clean polluted atmospheres, even extend the lifespan of aging stars." Admiral Jake Morrison had been promoted again, and now served as Earth's representative to the Galactic Defense Council. His job was to coordinate military responses to threats that affected multiple worlds. It was important work, but sometimes he missed the simple days when he commanded a single ship. "Admiral," reported his aide, Commander Sarah Brooks, "we have received distress calls from the Centauri system. Unknown raiders are attacking civilian targets." Jake studied the tactical display. The Centauri system was home to a peaceful mining operation run by former Zephyrian colonists. These people had rejected their empire's aggressive ways and chosen to build a new life based on honest work. "Prepare the response fleet," Jake ordered, "and send a message to the raiders. Tell them they have one chance to withdraw before we arrive." The raiders were members of a group called the Iron Claw, former military officers who refused to accept the new peaceful order. They believed that strength should rule the galaxy, just as it had in the old days. But their outdated ships and tactics were no match for the combined forces of the Galactic Defense Council. Captain Billy Thompson arrived at Centauri with a fleet of 12 ships representing 6 different species. The raiders took one look at the approaching vessels and fled without firing a shot. Word of humanity's victories had made many criminals think twice about their actions. "This is Admiral Thompson to Centauri Colony," Billy announced. "The raiders have been driven off. Our patrol ships will remain in the area to ensure your safety." The grateful colonists sent messages of thanks in a dozen different languages. Many of them were former enemies who now lived and worked together peacefully. It was exactly the kind of future that humanity had hoped to create. Ambassador Kate Phillips received a special invitation to visit the homeworld of the Andromedan Union. The Andromedans were an ancient species that had remained neutral during the Zephyrian Wars. They had watched from a distance as the galaxy changed, and now they wanted to meet the humans who had made it all possible. "Ambassador Phillips," said Elder Thyman as Kate toured their crystal cities, "your species has accomplished something that we thought impossible. You have brought peace to a galaxy that has known only war for 1,000 years." Kate walked beside the tall, graceful alien through gardens that sparkled like jewels. "We did not do it alone, Elder Thyman. Every species that chose cooperation over conquest played a part in this change." "Perhaps," the Elder replied, "but it was humanity that showed the way. You proved that the weak could defeat the strong through wisdom rather than weapons." Back in human space, the effects of the victory continued to spread in unexpected ways. Artists created new forms of music that blended human and alien styles. Scientists made discoveries that would have been impossible without cooperation between different species. Children grew up speaking multiple alien languages as naturally as their native tongues. Captain Nicole Parker's exploration ship had discovered 12 new civilizations in the past year. Each one had a different reaction to meeting humans. Some were excited to join the galactic community. Others were suspicious of any spacefaring species, but all of them had heard the stories about Earth's impossible victory. "The legend of the single ship has become more powerful than the ship itself," Nicole reported to Earth Command. "Species that have never seen a human still know our reputation. They know that we value cleverness over cruelty." Lieutenant Colonel Pete Johnson, now a general, oversaw the training of peacekeeping forces from 20 different worlds. Human tactics and strategy were being taught to alien soldiers who would protect their own systems from raiders and criminals. "The most important lesson," Pete told his students, "is that every enemy has weaknesses. Your job is to find those weaknesses and use them without becoming cruel yourself." As the second anniversary of the battle approached, people throughout the galaxy prepared celebrations. Not just humans, but dozens of species that had benefited from the new peaceful order. The day when one small ship had changed, everything was becoming a holiday celebrated across 1,000 worlds. Dr. Grant received reports from research stations throughout human space. Quantum technology was solving problems that had seemed impossible just a few years earlier. Diseases were being cured, damaged worlds were being healed, and new forms of clean energy were powering entire star systems. The victory over the Zephyrian Empire had been just the beginning. Humanity's real triumph was proving that intelligence, cooperation, and moral courage could create a better future for everyone. The single ship had become a symbol of hope that would inspire the galaxy for generations to come. 6 months later, Ambassador Kate Phillips stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council. The massive room was filled with representatives from dozens of alien species, all watching her with a mixture of respect and nervousness. The defeat of the Zephyrian Empire had changed everything in the galaxy. Kate looked out at the assembled delegates and began to speak. Honored members of the Council, we gather today to discuss a new future, a future where no single empire can threaten peaceful worlds through military might alone. In the front row sat former Overlord Vextar, now a prisoner of war and witness to humanity's mercy. After his fleet's capture, he had expected to be executed. Instead, the humans had treated him and his crews with dignity. They provided medical care, good food, and comfortable quarters. This unexpected kindness had confused many Zephyrians, more than their military defeat. Admiral Jake Morrison, now promoted for his successful mission, sat near the back of the hall. He watched as Kate delivered her speech to the galaxy's most powerful leaders. The woman who had once been Earth's top diplomat was now humanity's voice in a much larger conversation. The Zephyrian Empire ruled through fear, Kate continued. They convinced smaller species that resistance was impossible. They made everyone believe that technological superiority guaranteed victory. Recent events have proven this belief wrong. A delegate from the Calarian Republic raised a tentacle-like appendage. Ambassador Phillips, your species has demonstrated impressive military capabilities. How do we know that humanity will not become the next galactic empire? Kate smiled patiently. Because empires are built on the idea that one group should control all others. Humanity believes in partnership, not domination. We proved this by not destroying the Zephyrian fleet when we had the chance. This was true. When the quantum field had finally collapsed and alien systems came back online, Admiral Amy Brooks had been ready for a fight. Her fleet was positioned perfectly to destroy any ship that tried to attack, but the aliens had chosen surrender instead of suicide. Dr. Helen Grant now worked in a new laboratory on the space station called New Geneva. The facility orbited Earth and served as a center for cooperative research between human and alien scientists. Helen's quantum resonance technology was being studied by researchers from 12 different species. The key principle, Helen explained, to her mixed audience of human and alien students, is that all technology shares certain fundamental properties. By understanding these shared foundations, we can develop defenses against any weapon system. Her alien students took careful notes. Many of them came from species that had lived in fear of the Zephyrian Empire for generations. Now they were learning to protect themselves using human discoveries. Captain Billy Thompson had been promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's new peacekeeping fleet. His ships patrolled trade routes throughout human space, protecting merchant vessels from pirates and ensuring that smaller species could travel safely. The galaxy is changing, Billy told his bridge crew as they approached a distress signal. Species that were afraid to leave their home systems are now exploring new worlds. Trade is increasing. Art and culture are being shared across vast distances. The distress call came from a Yetarian cargo ship that had been attacked by raiders. The Yetarians were a peaceful people who had never developed strong military technology. Under the old system, they would have been helpless against pirates. Now they could call for help from human patrol ships. Billy's cruiser, the Defender, arrived within an hour. The raiders fled as soon as they saw human weapon systems targeting them. This happened more and more often now. Pirates and bullies throughout the galaxy had learned to fear the sight of human warships. Back on Earth, monuments had been built to honor everyone who had participated in the Great Deception. The largest monument stood in Washington, D.C., listing the names of every person who had helped trick the Zephyrian Empire. Soldiers, scientists, diplomats, and ordinary citizens who had played their parts perfectly. Commander Ryan Torres visited the monument whenever he was on Earth. His name was carved in stone along with thousands of others, but he always looked for one name in particular. Lieutenant Maria Santos had died 6 months after the battle, killed while defending a civilian transport from raiders. She had become one of the first human heroes in the new galactic age. She believed in what we were fighting for, Ryan said to his companion, Captain Frank Morrison. A galaxy where the strong protect the weak instead of preying on them. Frank nodded. He had taken over command of Earth's Marine Corps, training soldiers who would serve on ships throughout human space. Maria would be proud of what we have accomplished. The galaxy is safer now because of people like her. The changes went far beyond military matters. Human art, music, and literature were spreading to alien worlds. Earth's universities welcomed students from dozens of species. New technologies were being developed through cooperation between human and alien minds. Captain Nicole Parker now commanded the exploration vessel Discovery. Her mission was to make contact with species that had been isolated for centuries under Zephyrian rule. Many of these civilizations had hidden themselves to avoid conquest. Now they were slowly coming out of hiding. First contact with the Zeridian Collective will begin in 3 hours, Nicole announced to her crew. Remember, these people have been afraid of outsiders for over 400 years. We need to show them that not all spacefaring species are conquerors. The Zeridians had developed their entire culture around staying hidden. Their technology was designed for stealth and defense, rather than exploration or war. When Nicole's ship approached their home system, she broadcast messages of friendship in their own language, learned from ancient Zephyrian records. Ambassador. Kate Phillips continued her speech to the Galactic Council. The lesson of the Zephyrian defeat is not that humans are superior. The lesson is that no species is superior to all others. Every civilization has unique strengths. When we work together, we all become stronger. A delegate from the former Zephyrian territories stood up. What guarantees do we have? How do we know that humanity will not change its mind in the future? Kate looked directly at the speaker. Because we have already proven our intentions through our actions. We could have conquered the Zephyrian Empire. Instead, we helped them establish democratic governments on their worlds. We could have kept alien technology for ourselves. Instead, we shared our discoveries with everyone. The vote was unanimous. The Galactic Council approved the new defense treaty that would protect smaller species from future aggressors. Human technology would be shared with any civilization that promised to use it only for protection, never for conquest. Dr. Grant received a message from her laboratory on New Geneva. 17 different species were now working together to develop new quantum technologies. The same principles that had disabled the Zephyrian fleet were being used to create better medical equipment, faster communication systems, and cleaner energy sources. As Kate Phillips finished her speech and left the council chamber, she reflected on how much had changed. 1 year ago, Earth had been a small, unknown world on the edge of the galaxy. Now, humanity was helping to write the laws that would govern galactic civilization for generations to come. The greatest victory was not the defeat of the Zephyrian Empire. The greatest victory was proving that intelligence and cooperation could triumph over brute force and fear. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon was the willingness to appear weak while secretly planning something much stronger. Earth's single ship had become 1,000 ships. Humanity's desperate last stand had become the foundation of galactic peace. And the species that had seemed destined for extinction had become the guardians of a new and better future for everyone. Chaos erupted across the alien fleet as ship after ship tried desperately to restart their dead systems. Emergency lights flickered on in dark corridors, while Zephyrian engineers pounded on control panels that refused to respond. The quantum resonance field had turned their advanced technology into useless metal and plastic. Captain Billy Thompson led the first wave of human fighter craft as they swept through the disabled enemy formation. His squadron of 12 small ships moved. Like hunting wolves between the massive alien vessels, the fighters were designed to work without computer assistance, relying on human skill and reflexes that no machine could match. Gold leader to all Gold Squadron, Billy spoke into his radio. Remember the plan. Disable their communication arrays. First, then target their weapon systems. We want them alive but helpless. Billy's fighter dove toward a Zephyrian cruiser that was 3 times the size of the Defiance. Under normal conditions, that ship's defenses would have destroyed his small craft in seconds. But now its guns hung silent and its shields were down. Billy fired precise shots that cut away the alien ship's communication equipment without damaging the hull. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Amy Brooks watched her forces take control of the situation. Her ship's weapons were locked onto Overlord Vextar's flagship, ready to destroy it if the alien commander tried anything foolish. But she hoped it would not come to that. Dead enemies could not spread word of humanity's true strength. "Communications," Amy ordered. "Patch me through to the alien flagship again." "Channel open, Admiral," replied Lieutenant Sarah Wilson. Amy's voice reached every ship in both fleets. "Overlord Vextar, you have had 5 minutes to consider our terms. What is your answer?" Inside his darkened command center, Vextar stared at the human warships surrounding his fleet. His military advisors whispered frantically among themselves, but they had no solutions to offer. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy through technological superiority for over 200 years. They had never faced an enemy that could simply turn off their technology. "How?" Vextar finally spoke. "How did you primitive creatures develop such a weapon?" Jake Morrison answered from the Defiance. "While you spent centuries building bigger guns and stronger shields, we learned to think differently. We studied the quantum foundations that all technology depends on. We found a way to disrupt those foundations." Dr. Helen Grant was listening to the conversation from her laboratory deep under the Rocky Mountains. She felt proud, but also worried. The quantum field would only last for another 20 minutes. If the aliens refused to surrender, there would be a real battle when their systems came back online. Commander Ryan Torres received new orders from Admiral Brooks. His destroyer squadron was to begin boarding operations on key alien vessels. Ryan had trained for this moment, but he still felt nervous. Hand-to-hand combat in zero gravity was dangerous even under the best conditions. "Attention all boarding teams," Ryan announced. "We are go for Operation Roundup. Remember, we want prisoners, not bodies. The aliens cannot fight back while their technology is down, but they might try desperate measures." Lieutenant Maria Santos led the first boarding party onto a Zephyrian transport ship. She and her 12 Marines wore heavy combat armor and carried weapons designed for close quarters, fighting. They moved through the alien ship's corridors like ghosts, encountering no resistance. The Zephyrian soldiers they found were sitting in the dark, completely helpless without their advanced equipment. Their plasma rifles would not fire and their powered armor was dead weight. Some of the aliens tried to fight with their bare hands, but they were no match for trained human Marines. "Boarding Team Alpha to command," Maria reported. "Transport 7 is secure. We have 43 prisoners and no casualties. Their computer core is intact." This was exactly what human intelligence officers wanted to hear. Each captured alien computer contained valuable information about the Zephyrian Empire's military strength, territory, and weaknesses. When the computers were studied, Earth would know everything about their enemies. Captain Frank Morrison, Jake's younger brother, led another boarding team onto an alien command ship. His target was more dangerous because it carried high-ranking officers who might have backup weapons or hidden defenses. But Frank's Marines were ready for anything. "Stay sharp," Frank warned his team as they moved through the alien ship. "These are not ordinary soldiers. Command staff might have personal shields or energy weapons that work without ship's power." Frank was right to be careful. In the ship's war room, he found a Zephyrian general trying to activate what looked like a personal communicator. The device glowed with its own power source, apparently designed to work even when main systems failed. "Stop right there," Frank ordered, pointing his rifle at the alien officer. The general looked up with eyes full of hate and fear. "You will pay for this, human. The Empire will send more fleets, Bigger fleets. You cannot defeat us all, Frank smiled grimly. That depends on what message your empire receives about what happened here. The psychological impact of the defeat was spreading through the alien fleet faster than any virus. Zephyrian soldiers who had expected easy victory now faced the reality that their technology could be turned off like a light switch. Their confidence was shattered, replaced by fear and confusion. On ships throughout the alien formation, Zephyrian officers tried desperately to contact their home worlds. They needed to warn the Empire about humanity's true capabilities, but their long-range communication systems were as dead as everything else. They could only sit and wait while human boarding parties took control of their vessels. Admiral Amy Brooks received reports from all her boarding teams. One by one, the most important alien ships were being captured. Computer cores were secured, weapons were disabled, and key personnel were taken prisoner. The operation was going better than anyone had dared to hope. "Admiral," reported Captain Jennifer Lee from the cruiser Determination, "we have boarded the alien science vessel. Their computers contain detailed information about Zephyrian technology and military organization. Intelligence Command will be very pleased." Amy nodded with satisfaction. Knowledge was power, and Earth was gaining both. When this battle was over, humanity would understand their enemies better than the aliens understood themselves. Jake Morrison continued his psychological warfare against Overlord Vextar. "Your empire made the same mistake that every bully makes, Overlord. You assumed that being strong meant you were smart. You never considered that your enemies might be smarter than you." "We underestimated you," Vextar admitted reluctantly. "But this changes nothing. You are still just one small planet. The Empire controls thousands of worlds." "That may be true," Jake replied. "But how many of those worlds will remain loyal when they learn that your invincible fleet was captured by primitives? How many alien species will start wondering if they could defeat you too?" This was the real weapon that humanity had unleashed. Not just the quantum field, but doubt itself. The Zephyrian Empire's power came from fear and respect for their military might. Once that respect was gone, their empire would begin to crumble from within. Dr. Grant's voice crackled through the communication system. "All ships, this is Control. The quantum field will collapse in 15 minutes. All boarding operations must be completed by then." The countdown had begun. 15 minutes to finish capturing the alien fleet. 15 minutes before the real test of humanity's strategy would begin. Overlord Vextar had grown tired of listening to the human commander's weak words. For 2 hours, Jake Morrison had begged for mercy and tried to make deals. The alien leader found it disgusting. Humans were even more pathetic than he had expected. "Enough of this foolishness," Vextar announced from his command ship. His voice reached every vessel in the massive fleet. "All ships, move to attack formation. We will destroy this human insect and then take their planet." On the bridge of the Defiance, Jake Morrison watched thousands of alien ships move closer. Their hulls gleamed with deadly weapons pointed at his small vessel. Any one of those ships could destroy him in seconds. But Jake was not afraid. Everything was going exactly as planned. "Commander," said Lieutenant Bobby Adams, his voice shaking, with fake fear. "They are charging their weapons. We have maybe 3 minutes before they fire." Jake nodded calmly. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we tried our best." This was the signal everyone had been waiting for. All across the solar system, hidden human ships received the coded transmission. Captain Amy Brooks felt her heart race as she read the message on her screen. After 3 years of planning and preparation, the moment had finally arrived. "All hands, battle stations," Amy announced on her ship. "The Vengeance. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." The Vengeance was humanity's most powerful warship, but the aliens had never seen it. Special stealth technology had kept it invisible for months. Now, in just a few minutes, it would reveal itself along with hundreds of other hidden vessels. Commander. Ryan Torres received the same signal on his destroyer. His crew had been waiting in the shadow of a large asteroid for 6 hours. They were cramped and uncomfortable, but they were ready. Ryan's ships were fast and deadly, perfect for the attack they were about to launch. "Weapons hot," Ryan ordered. "Target the alien command ships first. We want to cut off their communications as quickly as possible." Hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons, Captain Danny Rodriguez prepared to activate the most important weapon in human history. His ship carried Dr. Helen Grant's quantum resonance field generator. The device was fully charged and ready to shut down alien technology across the entire fleet. "Dr. Grant," Danny said into his communicator, "we are ready to deploy your device. Are you certain it will work?" Helen's voice came back strong and confident. "I have run the calculations 1,000 times, Captain. The quantum field will disable their systems for at least 28 minutes. That should be enough time for our fleet to do what it needs to do." Back on the Defiance, Jake watched the alien ships move into their final attack positions. They formed a perfect circle around his vessel, exactly where human strategists had predicted they would be. The trap was set and the aliens had walked right into it. "Human Commander," Vexitar's voice boomed across space, "your time is finished. Watch as we demonstrate the power of the Zephyrian Empire." Jake stood up from his captain's chair and smiled. For the first time in hours, his voice was strong and confident. "You are right about one thing, Overlord. My time is finished, but so is yours." Vextar was confused by the sudden change in Jake's tone. "What did you say, human? Have you lost your mind with fear?" "No," Jake replied calmly. "I have lost my patience with your arrogance. You came here thinking you would find weak prey. Instead, you found predators who were smarter than you." At that moment, Captain Rodriguez activated the quantum resonance field. Invisible waves spread out from his hidden ship, moving faster than light itself. The waves reached the alien fleet in less than 2 seconds. Across 4,000 enemy vessels, lights suddenly went dark. Computer screens turned black. Weapon systems shut down completely. The mighty shields that protected alien ships simply disappeared. In just a few seconds, the most powerful fleet in the galaxy became floating metal coffins. "What is happening?" Vexitar screamed into his communicator. But no one could answer him. His own ship's systems had failed just like all the others. Emergency lighting came on, but nothing else worked. The alien commander found himself trapped in his own vessel, unable to fight or flee. That was when the hidden human fleet revealed itself. One by one, hundreds of ships appeared from behind asteroids, moons, and cloaking devices. The Vengeance materialized directly above the alien flagship, its massive guns pointed down at Vextar's command bridge. Captain Amy Brooks opened a communication channel that reached every ship in both fleets. "Overlord Vexitar, this is Admiral Amy Brooks of the United Earth Navy. You are surrounded by forces that outnumber and outgun your disabled fleet. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Vexitar could not believe what his eyes were showing. Him. Where there had been empty space just moments before, now there were sleek human warships everywhere he looked. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and carriers filled the darkness around his helpless fleet. "Impossible," he whispered. "Our sensors showed only one ship. Our intelligence reports said humans were primitive and weak." Jake Morrison's voice came through the speakers on every alien vessel. "Your intelligence was wrong, Overlord. You saw what we wanted you to see. Every message you intercepted was written by our best strategic minds. Every piece of information you gathered was carefully planned to bring you here, to this moment." Commander Ryan Torres led his destroyers in a high-speed pass around the alien formation. The human ships moved with precision and grace that amazed the watching aliens. These were not the clumsy, primitive vessels the Zephyrians had expected to face. "You see," Jake continued, "humans have a talent that your species apparently lacks. We can act. We can pretend to be something we are not. For months, we convinced you that Earth was helpless and divided. We made you believe that sending one ship was an act of desperation. Captain Nicole Parker brought her scout ship out of hiding and flew between the massive alien vessels. Her small craft darted around ships that were 100 times larger, but now those giants were helpless to stop her. "The truth is," Jake said, "we sent one ship because one ship was all we needed to bring your entire fleet exactly where we wanted it. You thought you were the hunters, but you were really the prey." Admiral Amy Brooks took control of the communication channel. "Overlord Vextar, you have 30 seconds to respond to our surrender demand. After that, we will begin destroying your ships one by one until you agree to our terms." The alien commander looked around his darkened bridge. His crew stared at their dead control panels with shock and fear. Outside his windows, he could see human warships pointing weapons at his vessel. The hunters had indeed become the hunted. Vextar began, then stopped. His empire had never surrendered to anyone. But his empire had never been caught in such a perfect trap before. The quantum field would not last forever. Soon, alien systems would begin to recover. But Jake Morrison knew that the psychological damage was already done. The mighty Zephyrian Empire had been outwitted by the species they had dismissed as primitive animals. 28 minutes. That was how long the human fleet had to complete its victory. The countdown had already begun. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Helen Grant wiped sweat from her face. She had been working for 18 hours straight, but she could not stop now. The fate of humanity depended on what she was building in this secret laboratory. The room was filled with machines that hummed and beeped. Cables ran across the floor like metal snakes. In the center of it all was her creation, a device that would change everything. She called it the Quantum Resonance Field Generator, but the name did not matter. What mattered was what it could do. "Dr. Grant," said her assistant, Kevin Murphy, "the final calibration is almost complete. We should be ready in 6 hours. Helen nodded, but did not look up from her work. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, adjusting settings that had to be perfect. One small mistake, and the device would not work. If it failed, millions of people would die. For 3 years, Helen had been working on this project. 3 years of 16-hour days, of failed experiments, of starting over again and again. The aliens had been watching Earth during all that time, but they never knew about the laboratory hidden so deep underground. The Zephyrians thought they understood human technology. They had seen human ships and weapons through their spy satellites. They believed humans were hundreds of years behind them in science. This was exactly what Earth's leaders wanted them to think. While Dr. Grant worked on her secret weapon, Lieutenant Colonel Pete Johnson was busy with his own mission. He sat in a command center in Colorado, looking at maps and talking to people all over the world through encrypted radio channels. "Denver base, this is Chicago Station," a voice crackled through the radio. "The convoy left an hour ago. 47 trucks heading south, just like the aliens expect to see." Pete smiled. The aliens were watching those trucks through their satellites, thinking they saw scared people running away from the cities. What they really saw was soldiers and weapons moving into hidden positions. "Good work, Chicago," Pete replied. "What about the West Coast teams?" "Los Angeles reports all units in position," another voice answered. "San Francisco team is ready. Seattle confirms the last group arrived this morning." Every day for months, the aliens had watched human vehicles moving around Earth. They saw what looked like chaos, families fleeing to the mountains, governments falling apart, military units scattered and confused. The Zephyrians were pleased. Earth was destroying itself before they even attacked. But the truth was very different. Every vehicle movement was planned. Every refugee convoy carried hidden weapons. Every emergency shelter was actually a military base built to look like something else. The aliens saw what humans wanted them to see. Captain Nicole Parker floated in zero gravity aboard her ship, the Shadow. Her vessel was so small that only 12 people could fit inside, but it was the most advanced scout ship ever built. Special technology made it completely invisible to alien sensors. Through her ship's windows, Nicole could see more enemy vessels arriving, big transports full of alien soldiers, warships with guns that could destroy cities, command ships carrying the aliens' most important leaders. They all came to Earth thinking they would win an easy victory. "Captain," said her sensor, operator, Tony Richards. "3 more battle groups just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The enemy fleet is now over 4,000 ships." Nicole made notes on her computer. Every alien ship was being tracked and studied. Human computers learned about their weapons, their shields, their weak points. When the time came to fight, Earth's forces would know exactly what they faced. "Any change in their formation?" Nicole asked. "No, Captain. They still think we only have one ship out here. They are not even trying to hide their positions." This was perfect. The aliens were so confident that they were not being careful. Their ships stayed close together in groups that would be easy targets. Their commanders did not bother to send scouts to look for hidden enemies. They just assumed humans were too primitive to have any surprises. Back on Earth, Major Alex Turner walked through what looked like a refugee camp in Montana. Thousands of tents filled a mountain valley. People cooked food over small fires, and children played between the shelters. To alien satellites watching from space, it looked like scared civilians hiding from the coming war. But Alex knew better. Under those tents were some of Earth's best soldiers. The cooking fires were really communication equipment disguised to look innocent. The children playing were actually young officers carrying coded messages between different military units. "How many more can we fit?" Alex asked his second-in-command, Captain Jerry White. "About 200 more people, sir. Then we will be at full capacity." "Good. The aliens need to see this place as overcrowded and desperate. It will make them think we are completely helpless." All around the camp, hidden weapon systems waited under fake rocks and trees. Anti-aircraft missiles were buried under what looked like garbage piles. Artillery guns were hidden in buildings that appeared to be abandoned. If the aliens tried to land soldiers here, they would get a very big surprise. Dr. Grant's laboratory received a coded message from space. It came from Commander Jake Morrison on the Defiance. The message was short but important. "Package delivery. In 12 hours. Helen understood what this meant. In 12 hours, the alien fleet would be in exactly the right position. All their ships would be close together, grouped around Jake's lone vessel. That was when she would activate her quantum resonance field. The device she had built would send out invisible waves that traveled faster than light. These waves would interfere with alien technology in a very specific way. Their computers would stop working. Their weapons would shut down. Their shields would fail. For a few crucial minutes, the mighty Zephyrian fleet would be helpless. But the quantum field would only work for a short time. Human ships had special protection that would keep them safe, but alien technology would recover quickly. The human fleet would have maybe 30 minutes to attack before the enemy got their systems working again. Lieutenant Colonel Pete Johnson received reports from all over the planet. Every hidden base was ready. Every secret weapon was charged and waiting. Every disguised soldier was in position. Earth looked weak and broken, but it was actually more ready for war than it had ever been. The aliens kept arriving. More ships, more weapons, more soldiers who thought they were coming to an easy conquest. They had no idea that every new vessel made the trap stronger. The bigger their fleet became, the more complete their destruction would be when the trap finally closed. On the bridge of the Shadow, Captain Nicole Parker watched the alien formation and smiled. The enemy commander had positioned his forces perfectly. They were exactly where human war planners had hoped they would be. Soon, very soon, the Zephyrian Empire would learn that attacking Earth was the biggest mistake they had ever made. Commander Jake Morrison walked slowly across the bridge of his ship. The metal floor made soft sounds under his boots. He stopped in front of the big window that showed space outside. What he saw made his heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. Thousands of alien ships floated in the darkness. They looked like angry metal sharks waiting to attack. The ships were huge and covered with weapons. Their hulls shined with a cold light that made Jake think of death. This was the Zephyrian Empire fleet, and they had come to destroy Earth. Jake touched the communication button on his chair. A woman's voice came through the speakers. It was Admiral Lisa Carter speaking from Earth Command, far below on the planet's surface. "Jake, remember what we talked about," she said. Her voice sounded worried but controlled. "You are out there alone. One ship against all of them. You are humanity's only hope now." Jake nodded even though she could not see him. "I understand, Admiral. We will do our best." But Jake knew something the aliens did not know. The truth was much different from what it looked like. The ship called Defiance was not really humanity's last chance. It was not a desperate final mission. It was bait in a trap that had taken 3 years to plan. Hidden all around the solar system, other human ships waited in silence. They used special technology to stay invisible. The aliens could not see them or detect them with their sensors. Captain Amy Brooks was out there somewhere with her big warship called Vengeance. Commander Ryan Torres had a whole group of fast attack ships. There were dozens of other vessels, all waiting for the right moment. The Zephyrians thought they were very smart. For many months, they had been listening to human radio messages. They heard Earth's leaders talking about this final mission. One brave ship sent to try to make peace or die fighting. The aliens believed every word because they wanted to believe it. What the Zephyrians did not know was that every message had been fake. Human scientists and military planners had written each transmission carefully. They wanted the aliens to think Earth was weak and desperate. They wanted them to bring their whole fleet to one place. A new voice came over the radio. This one was different, cold and harsh, speaking English with a strange accent. "Human ship, this is Overlord Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your planet now, or we will destroy you and take it anyway." Jake looked at his crew. There were 23 people on the bridge with him. Each one was a volunteer, who knew they might not go home. They had families on Earth, but they were ready to risk everything for the plan to work. Lieutenant Bobby Adams sat at the weapons control station. Sergeant Linda Murphy handled communications. They all looked scared, just like they were supposed to. "Overlord Vextar," Jake said into his microphone. "Earth asks for mercy. We are not warriors like you. We only want to live in peace." The alien commander laughed. The sound was ugly and mean. "Peace? Your species is weak and pathetic. You send one small ship to face our mighty fleet. This shows how foolish humans are." Jake made his voice sound desperate. "Please, we can offer you resources. Our planet has metals and water. We can be useful to your empire." "Useful?" Vexitar's voice got louder. "The only use for humans is as slaves. But first, you will watch as we destroy your little ship. Then we will take your world and everyone on it." On the bridge, Jake's crew played their parts perfectly. Some of them looked at their screens with worry. Others whispered to each other about how many alien ships surrounded them. But inside, they all felt excited. The trap was working exactly as planned. Jake walked to the science station where Dr. Carl Bennett was working. Carl was not really studying the alien ships like it looked. He was actually watching for signals from the hidden human fleet. When the time was right, he would tell Jake that everything was ready. "How many ships do you count, Doctor?" Jake asked loudly, making sure the aliens could hear him. "More than 3,000, Commander," Carl replied, his voice shaking just enough to sound afraid. "Their weapons are much stronger than ours. I do not think we can fight them." This was another lie, but the aliens believed it. Human weapons were actually very advanced, just different from alien technology. While the Zephyrians relied on energy shields and plasma cannons, humans had developed quantum weapons and stealth systems. The aliens had never seen anything like human military science. Lieutenant Maria Gonzalez sat at the navigation station. She looked young and frightened, but she was actually one of Earth's best pilots. Her job was to move the ship in ways that would help position the alien fleet exactly where the human commanders wanted them. "Commander," she said in a small voice, "they are surrounding us. There is no way to escape." Jake nodded sadly. "I know, Lieutenant. We knew this was probably a one-way trip when we left Earth." The alien fleet moved into attack formation. Their ships spread out in a huge circle around the Defiance. Each vessel was at least 10 times bigger than Jake's ship. Their hulls were covered with weapon turrets that glowed with deadly energy. To anyone watching, it looked like a giant predator playing with its food before killing it. But Jake smiled inside his mind. Every alien ship that moved into position was being tracked by hidden human sensors. Captain Nicole Parker was out there somewhere in her stealth ship called Shadow, recording the exact location of every enemy vessel. The information was being sent to all the waiting human ships. "Your time is almost over, human," Vextar announced. "Prepare to die knowing that your species failed to protect itself." Jake stood up straighter. "We may die today, but humanity will be remembered. We face the end with courage." "Courage will not save you," the alien commander replied. "Nothing can save you now." But Vexatar was wrong. Salvation was already there, hidden in the darkness of space, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The alien fleet had no idea that they were about to learn the most important lesson in the galaxy. Never underestimate humanity's ability to turn weakness into strength.